Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us to learn more about how you can disrupt the cyber kill chain using the power of Trellix. I am going to admit using my camera just because I don't trust hotel Wi-Fi and I don't want this to crash in the middle of it. Now, for those that are new to Trellix or have not heard of us, we are a merger of McAfee Enterprise and FireEye. So back in 2022, we got together and we just put our combined strength into our platform. A little bit about me. My name is Jeff Meacham. I am the Global AWS Solutions Architect here at Trellix. Some background. I've got a master's in cybersecurity with an emphasis on cloud security. And I recently published a cyber threat hunting book. And that book was a passion project of mine. I felt confident stepping into that subject because I've been in the trenches working investigations, built curriculum, and teaching the cyber threat hunting course here at Trellix for years. I took a lot of pride in that book. But here's where things got interesting because as much as I know about the manual side of hunting, when I first started working with some of the tools here at Trellix, it made me shift my entire mindset about how threat hunting should work. So it's not necessarily about being the expert anymore, but rather using tools to help you amplify that expertise. So, kind of an introduction to what our customers are facing. And guys, organizations, they always have to be adapting. That is before, during, and after an attack. They can't just focus on one stage. They have to have adaptive SecOps that covers the whole life cycle to stay resilient and keep breach costs down. Now, up at the top, you can see that there are gaps in visibility. The average dwell time for an attacker is 14 days, which is really to say how long they've been in your environment before being discovered. So 14 days, that's actually pretty good. I mean, back in 2011, attackers were in your environment for about a year, if not a little bit more. I mean, at that point, they were participating in Secret Santa. Now, there's obviously room for improvement. Now, with that, part of why we attribute the short dwell time is because tools like Trellix, but attackers are also using sophisticated tools like ransomware to get in your environment, and then they don't really have to stay or do anything. They just lock up your system. But a huge problem that we're also seeing a lot of our new customers face is long reaction cycles. The average time to contain a security incident without AI is over 200 days. A lot of people can discover breaches just fine, but getting the attackers out is the hard part. And of course, there's always a cost to it, right? Especially with the cost of goods. I kind of wish I would have done a poll here, but who likes paying more for the same item? I mean, talk about inflation, but based off attack trends, 63% of companies raise their prices after a data breach. So, in essence, we're all paying for it. To take this a step further, keep in mind that a lot of customers, they're facing battles on multiple fronts. I mean, first there's the attack surface. There are diverse devices. So about a third of organizations, they are dealing with a mix of operating systems and are constantly adding new devices to protect. And that's not even talking about Jeff using his personal computer to do work. There are also overwhelmed security teams. When we talk about ransomware, it hit 59% of businesses back in 2023, and the cost of those attacks doubled in 2024. We don't have the numbers for 2025 yet, but I have to imagine it's just as bad, if not worse. And there are even ransomware groups like DarkSup that you can hire on underground forums, and they offer real-time chat support and guaranteed turnaround times. I mean, I can't even get that with my cell phone provider. So think about how big these organizations are. And of course, there are reoccurring attacks. 43% of organizations hit by ransomware got hit again. It's like the attacker leaves, but like my parents, the attackers keep a spare key under the mat for next time. And the real punch in the stomach is the security analyst burnout is through the roof. Hiring and keeping talent is harder than ever because nobody wants to live in incident response mode forever. So when we talk about ransomware defense, keep in mind this is a constant process. It's not a set it and forget it deal. It is a constant cycle. So this is a great image here because it shows us the ransomware defense life cycle. So first, we have prepare. If you're prepping during the attack, you're already too late to the party. We have prevent, which is basically saying, hey, lock your doors, your operating systems, your endpoints. Maybe don't keep the key under the mat. Detect, find the bad guy, mitigate, recover, and probably one of the most important steps is the root cause analysis. You figure out what happened so it doesn't happen the same way twice. This is where we learn, adapt, and improve. And then we rinse and repeat. Go back into preparation because, again, ransomware doesn't take a vacation. So these are the phases of a ransomware attack. I'm not going to talk too much about this now because we're going to cover a lot of it here in just a bit. But we have recon. They're scoping you out. They're looking at your LinkedIn. They see what technology you're using. They craft the malware based off even job postings that they see. If they're looking for somebody with Windows Server 2025 experience, hey, they know what tools are in your environment. And it's also not crazy, again, for an attacker to drop a couple of bucks for a background check on you. Initial access, this is where they get in. Maybe it's a phishing email. Maybe it's an unpatched vulnerability. Maybe your user downloaded what they thought was Fortnite on their work computer. That's a silly example, but that really did happen. Escalation and lateral movement, trying to affect as many systems as possible. Data collection, exfiltration, they grab the goods, they take out your backups, so you can't just restore and move on. They lock the doors. Now, the funny, not so funny thing is they don't have to follow all these steps, right? I mean, there's a fine line between some of these, and maybe just even they're just throwing cooked noodles at the wall to see what sticks. But this is really where we step into the ring. Ransomware gangs versus Trellix to break this chain and stop that attack. Now, in this webinar, I'm just going to talk about the network, but we actually have a lot of tools that we can use to stop attackers. But given only 15 minutes, let's focus on our really cool network device. In this case, we're going to be talking about the Trellix network security tool. It's really interesting, its features. It has machine learning based off of your baseline, advanced URL and analysis, meaning, hey, you get emailed a link. This will actually click that link and then check out that link for you to verify it's safe. It has advanced evasion and technique detection. And what's really interesting as well is it has a cool sandbox where if you get a suspicious object from email, network, share, SMB, whatever, it will actually run that object in a sandbox environment, record all the changes, and then send it back to you. And that way you can see if it's malicious or not. If it is malicious, it can go ahead, create a new rule, and block it from ever entering your environment again. And really, using a tool like this, it just helps stop those attackers at each stage of the life cycle. I don't have enough time to talk about all of these steps, but I mean, even just picking like privilege escalation, right? Part of that is pass the hash detection. We can catch when attackers are trying to use your password hash. Credential password dumping, flagging tools, identifying attacker techniques that are designed to rip out credentials out of memory. We can stop that. Fileless malware for extracting credentials. Yeah, stopping memory resistant credential theft. So, really, the goal here is simple. The moment they try to level up, we're trying to cut them off. No admin access, no extra privilege, no ability for them to make themselves untouchable in your network. Because if you stop them here, you don't just slow them down. You protect your coworkers, you protect your environment. So we utilize multi-layered detection. And here's where things get fun. As you've seen, we don't really just rely on one step to try to catch the bad guys. We layer our defense so we can spot the known, unknown, and even new emerging threats. So, of course, we do have signature-based detection. We're all familiar with that. But the signature-less detection, again, is kind of what sets us apart. And that goes back to my sandbox example. As suspicious objects come in, they get tested. And that's how we are able to nail down zero-day attacks, phishing kits, brand new malware variants before they actually spread. We also utilize behavioral analysis that's using machine learning, traffic analysis. So even if something somehow, some way slips past that front gate, we're still watching. So we do get that protocol level visibility, generating metadata, analyzing attack patterns, and so we can detect those attacks in motion. So one of our tools, the NDR, it's all about giving the SOC analyst a better, happier, and easier life. The network investigator, it'll actually pull down layer 7 metadata and PCAPs, and it enriches them. And what's really interesting is, although it's a network tool, it also communicates with your endpoint tool, whether you get that from us or a third party. So that way you're getting the full picture. Yes, the network tool is great for seeing what's coming in, but what did the user actually do? What was the sequence of events that led up to that detection? So that means you get high fidelity alerts without the noise, easy to read network telemetry, and faster, okay, what happened and how bad is it answers. So I made mention of the ransomware attack lifecycle. Let's talk about how we can stop them at each step. So to be honest, recon is probably the trickiest stage to defend, just because it's really hard to tell malicious activity from what is being real. I mean, for example, a person using PS exec, is that malicious? No, I mean, IT people use it all the time, but then you have to talk about going through the command line and reading all of those. But with the IPS, this will detect recon attacks early. The telemetry will go straight into the network tool for enrichment and correlation. And that way we can see what attack techniques those attackers are performing. Sorry, there we go. For initial access, this is where the attackers first get in, either through stolen credentials, phishing, or whatever, really. And the way that we stop it is that it does that domain and URL blocking and phishing detection. So even though it's not an email tool, it's still able to detect phishing emails. And this correlates again with that layer 7 metadata. So you get the full picture of who's knocking and why. For escalation and lateral movement, this is where attackers, they try to grab the admin rights and spread as a way to just shoot that ransomware everywhere in your environment. And again, some examples, PS exec, not malicious, but if you block it, you're going to get a lot of false positives, or create a rule for it, a lot of false positive. Mimikatz, that one's interesting. It's still a problem today. I mean, during the Sunburst attack, the UNC group, they used their own version of Mimikatz to download hashes and then perform those pass the hash attacks. Well, we can stop that. And there's also remote access tools that wouldn't typically raise any bells or alarms, right? AnyDesk TeamViewer, VNC, or even SMB Windows admin shares. But again, the IPX, not only is it detecting the pass the hash attack, it'll also look at the credential dumping and fileless malware, where the NDR tool will map the environment, spot any kind of weird enumeration, login, or any kind of access at all. And again, it correlates that with the layer 7 metadata for the full context. And then finally, that brings us to data collection and exfiltration. I mean, hopefully attackers never get to this point, but let us never underestimate our users. At this stage, attackers already have the data. They're trying to get it out. And really, the window is a lot shorter than you think. So we can stop it with our machine learning modules, our signature-based exfil detection, and of course, once again, grab that beautiful layer 7 metadata for context and speed. One other thing I really want to point out is we provide unique threat intelligence for your organization. And when I say unique, I really do mean unique. So Trellix Insights, it answers 3 big questions every security team has. It's, am I exposed? Should I care? And why? And how do I move forward? Well, over here, you can see an example of this Trellix Insights dashboard. It has a security posture score, which is just a quick way to gauge the overall health and risk. You can see how it breaks it down by category. Each section tells you what the issues are and the recommendations how to fix them. For example, this 0 day, it has 5 recommendations. They're clickable. You can go straight into those remediation steps. And so instead of having to like change dashboards or try to reconfigure your EPO server or anything like that, you just click a few buttons and you're able to protect yourself. And the point is, this isn't just threat intelligence. It does come with threat intelligence, but you also go from, am I exposed, to how do I fix it in one dashboard? And here's just another example of that. I mean, the visibility we see right away. 0 day protection is enabled. Boom. We found the problem we can fix quickly. Recommendations. Insights doesn't just point it out. It actually gives us 5 actionable steps. And then we have that action where we go into the policy catalog, make the change without ever leaving the dashboard. And what's really nice is we also have the application control protection, making sure that only the right applications run. So if something does slip in, we have the controls to stop it from doing damage, such as change prevention. We can lock down approved files so they can't be modified. Dynamic allow listing, only trusted applications run. Memory protection, file reputation, containment, so that way we can block it from affecting anyone else in your environment. I mean, the bottom line is this is layered control, so you don't just stop known threats, you also block new and emerging ones before they ever run. And with application control, yes, we are locking down what can run. But even if something's not allowed to run, we can't just ignore and trust it forever. And that's where change control protection comes in. So here we're looking at the system itself, tracking every change, blocking out anything outside the policy, and logging it for analysis, whether it's an unauthorized registry edit, a stolen password attempt, or malware. We can stop it before it becomes a bigger problem. Then, as a backup, we have integrity monitoring, which takes it a step further by telling us exactly what changed. We get alerts on any modification on monitored files, folders, or registry. Content change tracking, which is going to dig into the details, looking at those file attributes and actual content, so we can compare before and after versions. And this isn't just about knowing something happened, it's actually having a forensic detail to understand what happened and roll back if needed. And in summation, don't just take my word for it. Our NDR isn't just good, it is award-winning. We have received awards from Gartner's Magic Quadrant, Cyber Defense Magazine's Publisher Choice, Forrester, and even more industry proof that we deliver both detection and prevention at the highest level. Guys, I am running so short on time. I do want to give you guys a quick scan if you have time for our friends in Canada, or American friends if you guys want to go on vacation. We have some upcoming events. On September 4th, we are going to be at the AWS Summit in Toronto. And afterwards, we're going to go to the Cyber Beer Security at AWS. So come by our booth, get some awesome swag. You'll have a chance to win a PlayStation 5. Even if you don't win, come to the brew house and we can still talk about video games and the such. Also, one thing that is not shown here is that we are having a dev day next month where you guys will have access to our tools. You'll be going through some of the labs and you'll be able to kick the tires and really see if what I'm saying is true or if I'm just speaking nonsense. Awesome. Ron will shoot you guys my email if you guys do have any questions. But I do want to thank you so much for your time and I don't know, Godspeed, I suppose.